Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back. This episode is brought to you by L-Nutra, nutrition technology for longevity. Are you looking for a smarter, science-backed way to support muscle health and longevity? Meet L-Protein from L-Nutra, the only plant-based protein powder of its kind, uniquely designed to enhance muscle growth and slow down the aging process. Unlike typical whey proteins, which activate pro-aging pathways, L-Protein supports your body with 25 grams of complete plant-based protein designed to keep IGF-1 low for optimal aging. With L-Nutra's pioneering approach to nutrition technology, this isn't just protein. It's nutrition for longevity, perfect for post-workout recovery, a nutrient-packed breakfast, or an afternoon snack. Personally, I love the chocolate-flavored protein shake as a delicious and super quick post-workout breakfast. As someone who would like to gain some muscle mass, it's important to me to get enough high-quality protein, and this is a great option. So if you're serious about fueling your body for both performance and long-term health, L-Protein might be just what you were looking for. Plus, it's packed with essential vitamins and minerals, all sourced from real fruits, veggies, and mushrooms, ensuring you're nourished in the most natural way possible. Can't go wrong with that, right? So if you'd like to check it out, go to prolonlife.com/wired. That's prolonlife.com/wired to get your L-Protein today. I'll also link it in the show notes. Without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. My guest today is Shannon Jamail, the founder and creator of the Mind and Body Complete family of companies, which also includes her retreat center just outside of Austin, Texas. She's a best-selling author, podcast host, retreat leader, therapist turned mentor, and yoga teacher, and she's on a mission to elevate individuals in mind and body in order to connect, grow, and thrive through her online courses, books, programs, and retreats. Welcome, Shannon, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thanks, Claudia. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk with you. So, Shannon, you used to be a therapist. What made you change your trajectory?
Yeah, I did. I was a therapist for quite a while, and it's a two-part reason why I changed the trajectory. One, I started doing retreats, and I fell in love with it. And so I knew that was going to be eventually my full focus was going to be on retreats only. And then two, to be quite honest with you, I realized let's put it this way. I wish there was a way you could almost try the job out before you do it to know whether or not you can carry someone else's heaviness without allowing it to impact your own personal life. But at the end of the day, it was a learning experience for me. And I realized that my empathy was a little too big sometimes in working with clients one-on-one. I would really just take all of their pain, their hurts, their frustrations, their traumas home. And I didn't do a good job of compartmentalizing them. And so I realized that very quickly that individual work and that atmosphere probably wasn't going to be my long-term focus. As much as I loved doing it and I loved working with clients, I knew that it wasn't going to be what I would be able to do sustainably for a long time. And I know you're really big on focusing what's sustainable. And so you have to know yourself, and you have to know what is going to work for you and what isn't. And I realized that for long term was not going to be good for my health overall, and for my family, and for me. And so I learned how to pivot and say, you know what, I'm going to take what I've learned working with clients and what I've learned in my education and my experience, and I'm going to put it to use in other ways, and still provide an experience, a transformation, an opportunity to heal, but in a different format. And that's what we do at our retreats now.
Oh, I love that. And kudos for realizing early enough that it maybe wasn't for you. And I
Yeah.
totally relate to that because I'm an empath too. So I feel feelings like everyone else's feelings really strongly. And I know that this can be really, really hard if you cannot separate their feelings from your feelings, and it just blurs the line, right?
It did. It really was. I found that, as much as I felt I was either going to compartmentalize so much that I'd become a robot and
Yeah.
not connect to my patients in a way that I felt like was important to me as a therapist,
Mhm.
or I was going to just absorb it all too much. It was like I was so extreme one way or the other. And so, I really was finding that it was a disservice to my patients if I was too invested in their pain and their trauma, or not at all. It just either aspect wasn't going to be right for my patients. And at the end of the day, a good therapist will know if they're a fit for what they're doing, even
Yeah.
if that means they're not a fit. And so it was a learning experience, like I said, in a really good way, though, because I learned so much doing what I did. And I'm going to toot my horn and say I was a damn good therapist. I just knew that it wasn't good for my health,
Yeah.
or for my long-term effectiveness. And that was a disservice to who I worked with.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And it sounds like wellness is at the center of your work in general. So what does wellness mean to you and why is it so important?
I feel like as a society as a whole, and I don't just mean where I'm from in the United States, but as an entire globe, we are so focused on achievement or busyness or to-dos or titles or wealth, all those different things, which some of those things, listen, I get it. But we do that at the sacrifice of our well-being, our overall well-being, not just physical, mental. It's just spiritual. It's all of it. It's your entire well-being. And we will sacrifice that in order to check the box or achieve or do what we think we're supposed to do. There's so many shoulds and woulds and all those things that, come to mind. And, I think life is damn short. And so if that's what we're doing, if we're doing all of that, I feel like a lot of people that you talk to who are at the end of their lifespan or have written out what they regret, or if you just look at the research, all that achievement, all that stuff was not worth the sacrifice of health and wellness and feeling good and enjoying this time that we do have on this planet. And so it just really became a thing for me as I watched some of the people that I loved and cared for, um, really just destroy themselves health-wise in order to do what they thought they should do, overall. And I saw it in my patients. I've seen it all the way across the board, and just watching people destroy themselves physically, mentally, spiritually in order to do what they think they should do, what the
Yeah.
culture has told us to do, society has told us to do, our parents have told us to do, whatever may be the case. And so, and here's the thing, really, at the end of the day, it's one of my favorite sayings is by, um, oh my gosh, my Mother Teresa. My mind went blank for a minute, but it's like that whole saying that in order to heal the world, you have to start with yourself. And
Mhm.
if we all picture this, like if we all felt well within ourselves, there really would not be hate or so much pain and suffering in the world, because really all of that is a projection, right? When
Yeah.
someone is hating someone else, or if someone is projecting ugliness on someone else, it's because they feel it inside them. And
Yeah.
so if every single person, what a pipe dream, right? But if every single person focused on their own wellness, we would literally have a healed world. Listen, if one out of 100 people did, to be honest with you, we would be in such a better place. But so anyway, so at the end of the day, people feeling good about themselves, feeling well within themselves, I think is really the answer to, all of the pain and suffering that we see going on around us, including our own.
Yeah, hurt people, right?
Yes, yes, that exactly.
It is so true. Now, you already mentioned that at some point you just fell in love with retreats. So how did that happen? Can you paint a picture for us?
Yeah, so they first originally started kind of twofold, like a very, really focused just solely on wellness. I was using my therapeutic background and just really focusing on all aspects of wellness in a very specific, driven way. And then I realized as I went along through the years, I realized that is wonderful. But I didn't want to keep it just in this kind of therapeutic wellness only emphasis. I wanted anyone who is feeling stressed or, any kind of heaviness to have a place to reset, to restore, and not feel like they're going to a therapy retreat, if you will. And so now at this point in my life, and I've been doing retreats for almost 15 years, it's more of do you feel stress in any way? If you feel stress in any way, come to my retreat and you will learn some tools on how to handle your stress, but also you will just put it all down. You'll just set it down and let someone else caretake of you for a while. Let someone else cook your meals, some really delicious meals, and take care of the cleaning and hold space for you and listen to you and allow you to take a nap when you need to take a nap or go for a swim or ride a horse or whatever may be the case. And so they're really designed now, just to create the space that people need in order to breathe, if we're being honest. And I am in love with the transformation of seeing women, because I primarily work with women, although I do have some co-ed retreats, but I see women arrive and they're so tight and heavy and you can feel it on them. And when they leave, they are like almost like children again, they're just laughing and lighter. And maybe there's a couple tears that were shed in such a good way. And I'm in love with that. I'm in love with seeing people put the stuff down, put it all down and reconnect to who they are. They really are. And then maybe go back to their everyday life lighter and maybe with a couple of tools to stay lighter.
Isn't it crazy, though, that we need a special place to just be?
It is. But it also is the world that we've created, right? I mean, if you think of any kind of behavior change that we want to do in our life, and you even think of it in the mental health field, it's really difficult to do it in your everyday
that's
space.
true.
It's just hard. It's harder. Harder. Let's put it that way. It's harder to make change in your space that you created the problem in the first place. And so when you can remove yourself from that and you can literally set down everything, set down your out of house work, your in-house work, your responsibilities as a parent or as a significant other or as a pet owner or whatever it is, like you can set it all down and then really focus on what the root is that's causing the disruption in your life or the unhappiness or the heaviness or the pain or whatever. When you really are able to stare at it, bring light to it even, you're able to make changes easier. It's just easier. And then you can take some of those tools back to your life and incorporate them and find ways to then live lighter and more joyfully in your space. But it's really hard to do it in your space. You can. I'm not saying you can't. It's just a little bit harder. For some people, a lot harder.
Yeah, that's so true. You need that pattern interrupt because that's what kind of invites the change and sort of. Now, what makes a great retreat? Can you give us like the components of a really great retreat?
Yes. I'm going to first say a great retreat is when you have marketed it and you've designed it and you attract the people that you want to work with. So whatever that is. And what I mean by that is I'm attracting women who carry stress and heaviness and are looking to put it down and reset and have fun. That's who I'm attracting. But if for some reason my marketing's not in line and I get a different type of woman that shows up, she's going to be unhappy and I'm going to be not feeling great about what I'm providing, right? Because I didn't market it right. I didn't design it right. I didn't call in the right person that I want to work with. And so a great retreat is first and foremost going to be targeted to the person you want to work with. Period. Maybe it's busy professional women and you want to talk about how to change that feeling, or maybe it's first-time moms, or maybe it's stay-at-home moms, or maybe it's single dads. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, you want to be very specific in who you're targeting. I'm a big believer that if you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. And so, and it's a disservice. It really is a disservice to yourself as the host because you're equipped, you're knowledgeable, you're experienced, is based on a certain thing, right? Whatever that is. And that's what you want to pass on. But if someone shows up expecting something else entirely, then that's stressful for you and it's stressful for them. And so it's not a win-win. And so just making sure that you are targeting, one, who you want to work with, and two, you're speaking their language and targeting them specifically. So that's the first thing. The next thing I will say is just the energy that's set at a retreat. It's really important that everybody who shows up feels this energy of acceptance. I couldn't stress that enough, because when people are coming, they're already, especially first time retreaters, they're coming and they're already kind of nervous. They're bringing their heaviness or their stuff with them, right? They're bringing it and they're afraid to set it down, and they're afraid for people to see it, and they're afraid that they're not going to feel accepted. They're afraid that they're not the right person for there's just a lot of fear that can be wrapped up into it. We do that every day. I mean, you could be ordering a cup of coffee, and if you don't look the right part or whatever may be the case, you feel like you're not accepted at this particular place. I mean, that just happens on a day-to-day basis. And so making sure that from the moment they arrive, that they feel so loved on and so accepted and so welcomed, no matter where they're from, what they look like, what their belief system is even. Just feeling loved and accepted is super, super important to me. And I feel like that is felt and permeated throughout a retreat. If at any point that's broken, that sacred trust, almost that acceptance, I just feel like the entire retreat can be completely shattered, really. And you have people that are feeling unsafe, and not, in a, for lack of a better phrase, a safe containment. So acceptance, love, and the right energy would probably be the next thing, aside from like targeting and marketing. And then beyond that, it's just logistics. And logistics mean, that goes down to who you're targeting and what you're working on. If you're just working on a girls' weekend getaway for, busy moms, okay, well, that might have certain elements to it. If you're looking for, or if you're targeting a learning experience, then you're going to have certain workshops. So beyond all of that, it's just really the logistics of what you are hoping to accomplish. What do you want your guests to walk away with? Are they learning something new? Are they setting things down? Are they reprogramming? Are they just relaxing? Is it a spa weekend? It really comes down to what are you hoping they are going to experience? What's the transformation or the experience, and providing the logistics to match up with that.
And which part do you find the most difficult? Is it the marketing part? Is it the logistics? What's the most difficult one?
For me, and this is not meant to sound at all cocky, I don't find any of it challenging anymore. But what I will say is because I have some online programs and some just programs in general to help new retreat leaders or retreat leaders that are struggling, I find the first and biggest mistake most retreat leaders make, and where they struggle the most, is targeting and marketing. And I think it's because, truthfully, everyone feels like they can help anyone, right? I mean, for the most part, right? We think, well, I've got this really great thing and it can help everyone. And the truth is that's where it gets lost in, the messaging. And so it goes really right back to that targeting. Almost like, my best way I can say is really picture exactly who you want to work with. I mean, what exactly does that person do? What type of house do they live in? Where do they shop? What social media platforms are they on? I mean, you are really thinking of a very specific person, and you then target your message to that person. And that is where you get the most success, because you are really providing then the space for the person who will get the most from what you can offer, and you'll feel so aligned working and sharing space with that person. And so targeting and marketing are so, so critical. And I feel like that's where a lot of people make a mistake. Included in that would be the messaging. So the stuff or the logistics is not what you're selling. You are not selling a 3 nights at a beachfront house that includes yoga and massages and, art workshop. That's not what you're selling. What you're selling is a relaxing getaway where you can set down your troubles and learn new techniques and connect with other like-minded women and release your stress. I mean, you really have to make sure that your message resonates when it comes to retreats. Otherwise, anybody can go book a 3-night stay at a Hilton and spa or whatever, that's just called traveling. We are creating a retreat experience. What is the transformation they are going to receive or experience when they come on your retreat? So that's part of the whole targeting and messaging, is making sure, and marketing is making sure that your messaging, your words, your copy is speaking directly to who you want to work with. And it's really telling a story about how they're going to transform during your retreat. And then you can list the stuff on there too, down, further down, so that they know exactly what it is as far as the logistics. But really, you want to make sure that your messaging is targeting what they're going to experience. And people really tend to struggle with that.
Yeah, it's all about the transformation, right?
Yes.
But so from your experience, how hard was it to build this business around retreats to make it profitable? Like, how long did it take you until it was profitable, and how hard was it? And what were some of the main challenges maybe that you encountered?
That's such a good question. I'd probably say it took about 2 years, maybe even up to the third year before I really was like, like some light bulbs went off in my head. And the biggest light bulb, I will tell you, is understanding your own value. Because what happens is, a lot of us empaths or people who are in the healing modality world, we come in with this whole grandeur idea of, I want to just provide a healing space. It's not about money. Well, I'm going to be the one to tell you, then you're going to run a hobby and not a business, right? And so you really have to understand the budgeting part of it. You have to really get down to the nitty gritty on, what exactly it's going to cost to run a retreat, because some people really forget. And I did all of the little things. I mean, all the way down to not just your travel as the host, but are you going to tip people? Is there going to be a currency exchange? And what does that look like? And every little advertising dollar that you're spending. And I mean, you really have to make sure that you're very good about that part. But first and foremost, you need to make sure that you know your value and you strongly believe in your value, and that you put that as the first line on the budget. The first line on the budget should be your profit, period.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else follows. All the rest of your hard costs, soft costs follow, so that you can understand what your profit total and how all of that's going to play out, and believe in that. I cannot tell you how many times, and women tend to struggle with this more than men, for whatever reason, how many times there's a problem with understanding that it's not just your time that you're paying, quote unquote, yourself for the retreat time, like that you're there, but it's your years of experience that got you to a place that you can then share that message, whatever that message is, right? And then also your prep and all the things that go into retreats. It's, a retreat is not just the 4 to 5 or 7 days that's happening. It's the year before that you prepped and marketed it and worked on it. And then the years before that you got your experience and your education or whatever that flies into that. So really knowing that you are worth a good profit. You are worth a very good profit. You don't have to take pennies on the dollar just so that you can have a retreat. I know that in especially the healing space, that's really hard for some people to wrap their mind around. They really feel that whole, money is the root of all evil. And I just disagree. I'm a big proponent that, okay, look, if you have a hard time with making a lot of money for yourself, fine, make a lot of money and give the shit away. I don't care what you do, but don't devalue your value. Make the money that you are worth, and then hire more people. You're giving back to the community, or offer scholarships, or donate it, whatever you may want to do. But don't devalue who you are, because that's a subconscious implication on just your overall self-worth. Get your value. And that is a good number. Get your value and then do what you want with it after that. But don't shortchange yourself when it comes to making a profit on hosting retreats.
So for someone who might just be starting out, how should they really come up with a number? So what's the pricing strategy? Can you run the numbers for us?
I couldn't run the numbers exactly because there's so many variables, but what I can tell you is this. I'm usually pretty good at interviewing someone, talking to them about their experience, and talking to them and finding out what they're going to help someone with. Listen, when you think about it, if someone's coming on a retreat and they're going to truly transform so that when they come out the other end of that retreat, a almost new person, at least in spirit and heart and mindset, and they're walking away with tools that can genuinely change their life, that's priceless, right? I mean, it's truly priceless. And so if I can understand what that transformation is going to be, what you're truly going to provide for that person, it gives me a better idea of what that number might be. And so that's kind of where I start. And then you go into the logistics. Is it a luxury retreat or is it a nature forward retreat? Are you offering full meals or partial meals? Are they private rooms or shared rooms? What kind of, extra amenities? Like all of that stuff also builds into the price too. Those are hard costs. And then there's some soft costs. But the first cost is always going to be your profit. And I am one of those people that profit is going to be damn good and it's going to be well worth your time. And if you have a problem with that, then that's where a lot of the blocks are going to come up with is if you don't believe in your own worth, one, you probably won't sell out your retreat anyway because you have so much doubt build up. And I'm one of those woo-woo people that I believe that all that energy is all around it. Then if you're not going to believe in your own worth, someone else isn't either. And so that's the first thing. But again, if you have a problem with that, but you still believe you're worth it somehow. Sorry if you hear my dogs barking in the background, but you somehow still believe, yeah, okay, I could get that, but I have a hard time taking all that. Again, take it and hire people. Put the money back out into the universe. But that's really where it's going to start is making sure that you know that your value's really, really good and really, really high for the transformation you're providing. On the flip side, I have worked with hosts who are like, look, I don't want to do anything but create, like be the connector, right? I want to book the space, book all the things, almost like a travel agent, but maybe we'll call them an elevated travel agent because they're there on site and they're helping and making sure everything goes well and stuff. Okay, well, that's a different kind of thing, right? So people are just coming and they're just going to have a massage and they're going to have lovely meals and they're going to, go maybe on a surfing excursion, whatever, you get my idea. And so the transformation really is just they're relaxing and they're letting everything go. And there's not really going to be any deep workshops or conversations or ceremonies or, anything of that nature. That's a whole different thing. So that's where you can see that it really depends on the transformation of what the pricing strategy will look like. But at the end of the day too, I will dig deep into someone's, what is an hour of your time worth? Like, what is that? And then what is your years of experience worth? What's the transformation worth? And so we really kind of dig into all that. Like if you left the retreat at the end of the retreat and you made X amount of money, would you feel really good and jazzed? Or would you be like, gosh, is it even worth it? And so there's so many different variables, but at the end of the day, there is a way to get there. And it's just a matter of breaking it all down.
Yeah, I think pricing is always such a tricky topic because people either feel they shouldn't charge that much because, as you said, especially as a healer or something, you feel like you shouldn't charge for those services. And then on the other hand, you also kind of feel like that what you're providing is priceless. So you're stuck between like the two extremes. It's either priceless or you can't really charge. And so a lot of people just struggle with the pricing, I guess.
They do. They really do. And there's some ways to kind of do some research too. So the other thing you could look at is what is your experience thus far as the demographic you're going to work with? So let's say your target audience, I'm just making this up, they're, we'll call them midlife women. They're empty nesters, they're midlife women, and that's your target audience. And you have been working with them as a coach for a while and you charge X amount of dollars. Okay, well, now you need to look at, does this demographic, this target audience that you're working with, what is their spending level? What is the money that they would spend? And what does that look like for how much they pay you? And where's your price range? Because listen, there's coaches out there that are charging, $200 an hour, and there's coaches out there that are charging $10,000 an hour, right? And so it's all in your head as the coach or your head as the healer or your head as the host, whatever that is, like where your money line is and who you're working with. And then believing that, there are people out there that will pay that. And that can go all over the board. You can find a retreat that's for $500 for a retreat, and you can find a retreat that's $50,000. And so it just gives you an idea of where it just depends. There's so many variables, but a lot of it starts with the person who's hosting.
Absolutely.
That person's limiting beliefs or their strengths or their experience and what they're already, getting now in life.
What was the most impactful retreat that you have ever attended? Well, or attended so far?
That I attended myself?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, one of the most impactful retreats that I attended was a retreat that didn't go very well. But it impacted me in a way that I realized what that would feel like for an attendee, like what that would leave them with and how damaging that can be. And so it impacted me in a way that, I took that back and I really this was probably about 8 or 9 years ago. I took that back and said, man, I really want to I feel like I had gotten into like everything was so easy for me now. My retreats are so easy. And I almost was like, I don't want to say getting lazy with them, but maybe we'll just use that word because it's the best that fits for this conversation. And so that experience that I had showed me that you can't afford to be lazy when you're holding space for someone. You can't assume that everything's always going to be great for everyone. Like, you really need to pay attention and see, are you delivering what you said you're going to deliver? Is everyone experiencing what you said would happen? And if not, what do you need to do about it? And so it really was so eye-opening for me to come back to my space and say, okay, what am I doing? Who am I still working with the demographic that I want to work with? Because guess what? That changes too for hosts, right?
Yep.
Am I delivering what I can deliver that I said I would? And what am I going to do about it when I'm not? How am I going to correct it, I guess you could say, or make it right, or figure it out? And so that was so big for me, and it really helped me because I know how that would feel for a guest to leave, and I would never want a guest to feel that way, to come back to my space and really just make the right changes that needed to be made, or at the least, pay attention. Make sure I'm paying attention and not just being like, yeah, it's going fine because it always goes fine, you know?
Mhm.
So.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, being on a great retreat can be a wonderful reset, but in the long run, I really believe that people have to change their lifestyle in order to see permanent results. So it's just the little things that we do consistently that really create our results. So what are your personal high performance habits that help you stay happy, healthy, and productive?
I have a very, I don't want to say rigorous, but a very particular morning routine. And pretty much without fail, and I would just say in the very high 90%, I stick to that morning routine. If I didn't, it's because I'm either really sick. I still have 2 kids at home. One of the kids are really, there's got to be something kind of really extreme off that throws me off. And I've now learned to be like, okay, well, I'm going to roll with that, because I used to be like, oh, I have to have my morning routine or else. And so I've been able to learn how to go with the flow when that happens. But for the most part, I have a very specific morning routine that, I know it sounds cheesy and it's over talked about and underused, which starts with gratitude before I even get out of bed. And it moves from gratitude to a physical and mental workout. So I do meditation. I have a specific movement routine that includes yoga as well as weights and a couple other things. I have a manifestation routine that goes into place. And then I go into my sauna and my cold plunge. And so the whole thing takes about 90 minutes, and I try my very hardest to make sure I don't even have any appointments before, early in the morning. That's just my thing, so that I am so prepared for whatever comes my way. It doesn't mean I don't run into troubles or problems or get thrown off, but I'm better prepared when that stuff does come up, because I did my stuff. That just really helps me overall.
I love it. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners today?
There's no better time than right now. I know that sounds
Yay!
so cheesy, but everyone thinks I can start my health journey, physical, mental, spiritual, whatever. I can do it next week or the 1st of January or next year when the baby sleeps in, or whatever may be the case. And I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to be a little in your face and say there's no better time than right now, even if it's the babiest of steps, because we're not getting any younger. It's never going to be easier than it is right now. Like, literally right now, it's the easiest, because we don't know what's going to come up next week or next year or whatever. And so this is the time, like right now, today. Maybe it's simply drinking more water. Maybe it's just taking 2 minutes a day just to breathe and focus on what you're grateful for. Micro steps, right? I mean, you mentioned that. You could do micro steps that can lead to big steps. They add up. And the one thing I want so badly for everyone is that we not just survive, but that we thrive. And you cannot thrive if you are not well. You cannot thrive if you're not well in your heart, your head, your body, everywhere. And so it doesn't mean we won't run into problems or obstacles or things. Yes, we will. That's part of being in this form on this earth. But we still can thrive through all of that if we take micro steps starting today.
Yes, start today. I couldn't
Yes.
agree more. Where can people find you online if they would like to learn more about you or maybe about your retreats?
Yeah, simply go to mindbodycomplete.com. You can also find me on all the social media. But yeah, mindbodycomplete.com.
Fantastic. Shannon, thank you so much for talking today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Claudia.
Take care. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show or share it with a friend. That way you can support the show and help me reach and support other entrepreneurs like yourself as well. If you would like my help to figure out how you can go from overwhelmed and overworked hustler to empowered and confident leader, check out my website at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions and book a free 20-minute strategy session with me. Can't wait to help you get wired for success. Until next time, take care. Bye.